guys, it's Ken again, and in this video, I'm going to be referring to the Blacklist Season 1, Episode 8, General Ludd. By far, this was the best episode of the season. I know I say that every time, but this truly was, because we finally got the things we need to see, and I really like that they did not really focus on this case very much at all. They focused on it, but the second half of the episode, to me, was a lot more interesting than the first half of the episode. The first half of the episode with the case and everything was fine, but once we got to that really cool second half, that I really enjoyed. But, let's just get to the case. If you guys don't remember last week, it ended with Red basically blowing up this house. He didn't want to remember the bad memories from it. And we saw, Harold playing with his son, and he heard, the house. And Red blew up last episode. But then we see that there's this plane debris that's falling from the sky, and we find out it's in fact a plane that blew up. Several parts are falling. Harold runs in and saves his son from being crushed. It cuts to a man in a mask who says a wave of death and destruction is coming. His face is hidden, his voice is tampered with, so we can't hear him. And basically they find out later that Harold is talking to Red about having his help with this case. Though Red wants to make a deal with it so that he gets something in return, Red knows that the cargo plane that blew up was the beginning of the movement that's only going to get bigger. It cuts to Malik, Ressler, Liz, and Harold talking about this terrorist group. And Red can identify the leader of this group. They even have an image of him to work with. Ressler is out at the scene of where the cargo plane's debris landed. He talks to a police officer there about the witnesses who saw what happened. It then cuts to a man with curly hair and a pretty Asian woman looking very nervous dealing with a laptop. Ressler walks in and shows security footage of the man they're looking for, Kurt Denon. Though it seems a man named Roger is also the same guy. Turns out that this guy is Nathaniel Wolf. It then cuts to a man who's behind the whole movement. And it shows both curly hair and pretty Asian woman showing in the laptop that they were working on before. It seems that Nathaniel has got something planned. He tells them that's been on her. The case this episode honestly was pretty boring. I mean, the whole thing with the case was just, it was boring. Because they didn't really focus on it, but it was kind of boring. But eventually, they get the guy and everything. But, yeah, so that was basically the case of the episode. What I really want to talk about, though, is the subplot of this episode, because not really subplot, I mean, this was really the big plot of the episode and the big stuff that happened. Well, we basically saw that, Liz is, walking into the washroom to talk to Tom. She gets in the shower with, Tom. It then shows a man watching Tom and Liz in the shower together from a monitor. There are several cameras in the room with this individual, and we see the man with the apple again. And it's pretty crazy that they did that again. Liz and Tom are eating breakfast. Liz gets a call from her dad, who's now in the hospital. Liz says she wants to go and see him. Now, when we say dad, at this point we still think that possibly Red is her father. So I didn't really know who that was. But he's a trooper and says that's nothing serious, so he's just being tested. Liz tells her to call if it gets serious. He says, okay, you can tell that lying it's probably something bad. So, Liz gets this message from her father about the test he's going through. She wants him to call her. Ressler appears and tells Liz it's time to roll. They enter the house looking for clues or something. But while Liz was looking around, that had to do with the case. But Red wants to know what she seemed a suburban housewife counting his money. Fred wants to know what she came to him for. She tells him about finding the fingerprints of Nathaniel Wolf. And Red mentions Liz's father's cancer coming back. Then Red tells her that Abraham Maltz is the best change for changing a face for Wolf and would have been able to pull off the surgery. Red tells Liz that he needs to talk to Dr. Matz quick. He's got a lot of things to do. Then we get to the, probably one of the most shocking scenes of the episode, definitely. This is by far the most shocking scene. Tom calls Liz, and he tells her that the cancer has spread to her father's liver, that she needs to go, and she sees him quick. But Liz doesn't look good after hearing the news. Ressler asks her if she's alright, but until she doesn't answer her phone, they continue going to the airport. They arrive, and Rizzler and Liz tell everyone that they need to get people out and that a bomb squad is on stand, but too late to plane or explode without even getting in the air. But Red pays a visit to Sam, Liz's dad. He's mentioned that it's been far too long, basically. We see them talking and everything, and we see that we kind of get this thing where it says, well, it's been far too long, I think I need to tell her and everything, and it's pretty big what's going on here, because this is pretty much indication that Red is Liz's father. From what he basically, that whole conversation is pretty much indication about that. So then Red holds Sam's hand and tells him that he looks like hell. Red tells him that he's finally got to see her, who I assume is Liz. Red goes on talking about her and how she is, that she's stronger than she thinks she is. Red tells Sam he gave Liz an incredible gift for taking her in and loving her as his own. Now, I kind of have a theory of why this happened. We'll get to that in a minute, but Sam says he's got 6 more weeks to live, and he wishes that they had said 6 hours, because he doesn't want to live in pain. Sam says that he needs to tell Liz, though Red says he can't let Sam do that. Sam believes that Liz deserves the truth. It cuts to Liz and Rizzler fighting Wolf's hideout, and basically then we see Liz receives a call from Sam. Sam's about to tell her, basically. He really wants to tell her, and that's what's going to happen. He's going to tell her. Sam says he's sorry for bringing her into the party late. The cancer came back to him 3 months ago. He mentions how he should have been honest, but he couldn't because he wanted to protect her. Liz says that he's going to be alright. Sam reassures her by saying, of course he will. They hang up, and it leaves Liz a little upset. Red sits down and on the side of the bed and looks at Sam and tells him that he'll always be her father. Red only hopes that he can love her and protect her the same way Sam has. Red grabs a pillow and suffocates Sam with it, which ends up killing him. So Red killed Sam. Now, Red has a good reason for killing Sam. Red killed Sam because Sam was going to tell Liz the truth. Obviously, Red does not want Liz to know the truth, and that's the reason why he killed Sam. This is indication that this just tells you, you can tell now, that Liz is Red's daughter. You can just tell from this scene. Why else would Red kill Sam? Because, I mean, he's not just a natural-born killer. That's not just what he does for the hell of it. No, that's not what he does. Red leaves after this, and then we get to the other big scene in the episode, which we finally have, Tom arrives at the hospital. He's asking for where Sam is, and, basically the nurse says she's sorry, and Tom's face shows that he knows what she means by that response. So did Tom expect Red to kill, Sam? I'm really not sure. But then we get to the scene that we've all been waiting for, the scene where Red finally meets up with Tom. They finally have their first official conversation in this episode. Yes, I was so surprised that they had their first official conversation. I was so happy about this. But Red walks up to Tom. He asks if he can sit with him. Tom asks if Red is visiting someone. Red says a friend who died today and asks if Tom the same. Tom says he came to meet someone's father, but he didn't make it in time. And Red says it's hard not to say goodbye. Oh, with so many people, it only gets easier. Tom says that he doesn't know what to say to his wife because he took her in when she was 4 and raised her as his own. Red says that it'll take some time, but that she'll be fine because her father will always be there in the shadows to keep her safe. Tom smiles a bit and says that he hopes Red is right. Red mentions that he knows he's right and then walks away. Now, this pretty much makes me think that Tom possibly, has seen Red before. It doesn't seem like the first official conversation between them. It seems more like they've talked to each other before this. And this just makes me think that possibly Tom is working for Red. I thought that all this time, and I still think that. I still think that that could be possible. And I thought that was definitely very big. So, then we get to the last scene of the episode, which I really want to talk about, which is when Liz calls Red, asks her if he can fly, he says yes, and then says, oh, that has to do with the plane. We go to Sam's funeral, basically. Everyone is upset. Liz is crying, holding Tom's hand, and Red goes up to her, and he basically says, so you're so upset and everything. And he says, well, sometimes it's hard to get over your father. And he says, tell me a story about him. and she tells him a story about him. What she doesn't realize is that her father is sitting right next to her. Because Red is her father. I am pretty much sure now that Red is her father. This episode last night was fantastic. It had everything I ever wanted in this show so far. There's so much now that we could think about, like, Red killing Sam. There definitely the main reason was because he was his father, her father, and didn't want the secret to get out. Also, do you think Tom knows Red already? What do you guys think about that? Is there another reason he killed Sam, and why did Sam take Liz in? Here's my theory. I think that possibly that one girl that died, the one little girl that died, Red had 2 daughters. Liz was one of them, and the other little girl. And the guy who was after the little girl tried to go after Liz, and before he could, Red sent her somewhere, and Sam adopted her. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he did this mainly to protect her. That's what I'm thinking. That's the main reason why she does not know, because he tried to protect her in her earlier life, and that's the main reason why. But this was such a great episode, and I absolutely loved it. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode. Do you think that Red and Tom have known each other in past life? Do you think this is the first conversation they've had? And do you think Red is Liz's father? I think this is pretty much collateral that he is her father. I think it's pretty much not even a statement anymore. He is her father. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later for my review of Sleepy Hollow. So see you then. Bye.